Thank you for joining our webinar, International Student Exchange, Equipping Students for an Interdependent Global Society. We'd like to share a few housekeeping items before we begin. All of your phones are muted for the duration of the call. You can ask a question or post a comment in the chat window. Take a look for the chat window now, and please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Please also say where you're from. This webinar will be recorded and sent to all registrants, plus it will be posted on the AASA website. AASA is pleased to bring you this webinar with CSIET, the Council on Standards for International Educational Travel. CSIET aims to evaluate and certify long-term international student exchange programs. They also strive to cultivate excellence, facilitate a spirit of cooperation and support, and help ensure safety and value for international exchange students, secondary schools, and natural parents. It is now my pleasure to introduce Carissa Slack, Associate Director for CSIET. Carissa is responsible for organizing and executing school outreach efforts, managing CSIET's domestic program agenda, and maintaining strong relationships with member programs and stakeholders. Take it away, Carissa.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you, AASA, for giving us the time to share this information with you all. And thank you all for registering to learn more about how you can easily enrich your schools and school districts' global learning experience through international exchange programs. We have panelists here to walk you through why it is so important for our youth to engage in global conversations and build their global competencies, but also to talk about the support systems and programs in place formed to assist schools so you understand that integrating exchange students in your schools is about opening your doors and a seat and less about paperwork and processes. I hope you will come away from this webinar with the thought that hosting exchange students in your schools is less overwhelming and more about an opportunity for your current students to learn about other countries and cultures in the global society. I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have Britta Bjorlund, Chief of the Youth Programs Division in the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs at the U.S. Department of State. Dr. Matt Connor, Assistant Superintendent of Hempfield Area School District in Pennsylvania. Mark Overman, Executive Director of the Alliance for International Exchange. Jill Warner, Senior Director of Education and Outreach to Schools for AFS Intercultural Programs USA. And Chris Page, Executive Director of CSIET, or Council on Standards for International Educational Travel. Thank you all for being here, and Mark, we'll start off with you.
Thank you, Carissa. I really appreciate it. And thank you, AASA, again, for having us here for this webinar. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to set the stage for our conversation today with a few words about the impact of international exchange programs on American students, schools, and communities. The Alliance for International Exchange is a close partner with CSIET. We are an association of more than 90 US-based organizations that facilitate international exchange programs of all kinds. And that includes high school exchange programs and includes organizations like AFS USA that run high school exchange programs. And my colleague Jill from AFS will speak in depth a little later about, as Carissa said, how these organizations support both participants and high schools participating in the program and make it easy for you to take part in this very enriching program. Alliance member organizations run all kinds of exchange and study abroad programs, including many Department of State, Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs exchanges. You might not know, but nearly 350,000 students, scholars, and professionals of all kinds participate in Department of State exchange programs every year. And that includes Americans going abroad and international participants coming to the US. And these participants include nearly 25,000 high school exchange students. So why does the Department of State sponsor these exchange programs? And why do we as exchange organizations and professionals work on them? And I think if I had to summarize it in one way, it's because international exchange programs are a proven investment in American people and American communities. I think first off, exchanges create future leaders. Exchanges like high school programs create opportunities for young Americans, those young Americans who are in your schools, to become leaders who will be successful on the world stage. Second, at a broad level, exchanges help advance America's diplomatic interests. We know that the programs we run, high school and beyond, create political and business networks around the world that really advance U.S. global influence, as well as impact U.S. communities at a very micro level, from the local economy and workforce to schools, families, and government life. And third, exchanges strengthen American communities and drive American prosperity in all kinds of ways. From a purely dollars and cents perspective, exchanges are truly an investment in the US economy. Just as one great example that we use all the time, more than 1 million international college students study at US universities each year, and they contribute $43.8 billion to the US economy. And that is extrapolated beyond those students to the so many programs that we work on with the Department of State. But I think much more than money, international exchanges create a growth in human connections, and they expand the minds of everyone who participates. The organic and informal learning that comes from exchanges really enhances school culture, I think creates new avenues for student engagement, and strengthens your communities. Friends, neighbors, teachers, classmates, teammates, coaches, churches, and more, everyone in a community is touched by the presence of exchange students. So thank you for letting me set that broader stage. And now I'm happy to hand things over to my colleague, Chris Page at CSIET. Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Mark. While Mark may have the 35,000-foot view of the Bridge USA program and high school or an exchange, I will be talking a little bit more granularly about the high school category. In other words, the Bridge USA program at the high school level. So let's get into it. What do we do? What does CSIT do? The Council on Standards for International Educational Travel, which we call CSIET, our mission is to evaluate and certify long-term international student exchange programs at the secondary level. And our programs are committed to CSIET standards of excellence, which I'll go over in a minute, and they engage in the developing and sharing of community preferred practices, and they advance the educational value of international student exchange. And so that's roughly 105 U.S. Exchange organizations at the high school level that are bringing in just about 20,000 students overall. So why do we do what we do? So in evaluating the programs throughout the academic year, we're trying to facilitate an environment where folks can support each other, they can cooperate, they can share best practices, they can discuss the safety and the welfare of the students and particular policies that may need to be in place that would help the programs be more effective with their programming. And that is of benefit to everyone. As far as the specific standards and the accountability, what are some of the most important standards that we have in place? Well, one is that each of our certified programs has to have educational goals and learning objectives. So these are educational programs, hence the title, CSIET. They have to have adequate personnel in order for them to carry out the full scope of the program that they administer, and they maintain the responsibility for exchange students both within and outside the United States throughout the whole year. So each of the J1 programs is a designated sponsor, and so the responsibility lies with the program. In terms of screening, what is our screening process? What do programs have to do? They have to have personal interviews with student applicants. They have to provide an orientation before those students depart and after they arrive in the United States. They have to provide an English language assessment, which ensures that they have a minimum level of language that would help them succeed in the U.S. They help with a transcript evaluation. The host families have to, by law, undergo a criminal background check. And they also have to be interviewed and have an orientation. And those two things are separate, but both have to be done. Other things that our programs do, they provide access to counseling services, travel, medical care, language problems. changes in host family and when emergencies arise. So in essence, they are there to assist and support students and schools and ease the process for you all. How do we report out our findings from our annual process? Well, we have a annual publication, which we call the Advisory List of International Educational Travel and Exchange Programs, long title. But that publication is available to prospective students, their parents, and you all, so you can confidently gain an understanding of the scope, the background, and operations of the programs that have been evaluated and certified. The advisory list is both online and in book form and includes descriptions of exchange programs that do comply with CSIET standards and have earned that certification status. And programs can be inbound and including Bridge USA programs, or they can be the outbound, but the focus here today are the inbound programs. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about the kinds of things that CSIET does on behalf of the school community. We last year just put together a document that is we call it the Model School Practices, and this document outlines practices that have been developed with input from high school administrators, exchange program managers, and various advocates throughout the country as it relates to youth exchange. And the practices are intended to outline specifically what schools can expect of Bridge USA programs. And you can expect all of these programs to, throughout the year, we're going to monitor the academic and social progress during the school year through monthly check-ins. Our programs ensure that exchange students are compliant with your school's health requirements, including documentation of required immunizations. Programs provide medical and accident insurance, and they provide your school with a complete student application, including detailed student information and necessary medical history. And finally, they seek schools' formal acceptance and enrollment authorization before the exchange programs leave their home countries. So in essence, what we do is we support the programs that support you. And we make sure that the programs have a method, an organization that has an annual conference that can help support them through their evaluation process throughout the year. And so I'm glad that we've been able to help put this together with AASA, and thank you very much for having us, and look forward to the rest of the presentations. So from here, who's
It's
next?
me.
I
Thank you
apologize.
so
Yep.
much, Chris. Next, we are going to have Dr. Matt Connor, Assistant Superintendent of Hempfield Area School District in Pennsylvania. Dr. Connor is in the same position or a similar position as many of you watching, and he's here as someone who has had experience with exchange students in his schools and can give insight as to what that experience is like. Thank you for being here, Matt. Can you tell us a little bit about your school district and how long your district has been hosting exchange students?
Yes, thanks, Carissa. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Hempfield Area School District is located in Western Pennsylvania, about 30 minutes east of Pittsburgh. We have approximately 5,300 students across nine school buildings. I would categorize us as a suburban setting. And we've been hosting international exchange students for well over 14 years. Prior to my existence here at Hempfield. In fact, one of the things when I arrived here at Hempfield, I was told not to screw it up and make sure I maintain the program. So very excited about our program here and the kids that were able to participate.
Thank you so much. What countries have you seen represented in your schools because of these exchange students?
So what I did for this purpose, I just looked back for the past 3 years, and we've had students from Germany, Latvia, Georgia, Poland, Taiwan, Brazil, South Korea, France, Norway, Denmark, Japan, Italy, and Spain. That's just the past 3 years. So it's a plethora of different cultures and environments and perspectives that are coming into our school district, which is wonderful.
It's amazing. I love it. Can you talk a little bit about the exchange students' involvement in your schools? Like what kind of activities do they participate in?
Absolutely. I will say that our number one, I'm taken back by our exchange students and just their maturity and the perspective they bring to our students. One thing I failed to mention is our school district is not very diverse. So I look at exchange students as bringing a unique perspective to our students and exposing our students to different cultures, et cetera, right? So I have witnessed firsthand over the last 8 years, students that have been the homecoming king, the lead in Mamma Mia, which was a great production, by the way. Participants on our sports teams, soccer, volleyball, field hockey. I may have seen a ringer in our field hockey, first time only that we've made the playoffs because of exchange student. Not that it's all about athletics here, guys. However, it was very impressive. Participation in student government, service organizations. We have annual board presentations, school board presentations, where our foreign exchange students come and present. I think that is one of the best ways we do in recruiting to all of our families. That, and we also have a countywide celebration every year in which they also present. And it's a great reflection on our school district and our community here.
That's awesome. I love that someone was homecoming king in their 1-year exchange.
Yeah.
Must have been very impressive. How do the American students react or respond to these exchange students? Or is it, yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
It is so positive. It's impressive when, I'm interacting with the high school students walking down the hallway, and I see a foreign exchange student. They are not alone. Like, they are like, how do I say this? They are part of the most popular kids in school. And I don't know if it's like, I don't know if we've been blessed. I don't know if we've been blessed with charismatic students, but it's been very impressive to see. Our students are very welcoming, very open, and they build relationships very quickly with our exchange students. And I also have to say, our educators, our teachers take advantage of it. Our social studies department definitely has them come in and talk about world history, current events, et cetera. Our world language teachers hit them up all the time, which is great. And then they really help promote that open-mindedness, global awareness that we strive to promote it in our school districts.
It's so organic to have them in the classroom and just build that competency right there. So I get that why teachers do that. What are the key benefits for having international exchange students in your school district? One being, having them in the classroom, but what are some others?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's that fostering that mutual respect, that diversity, the welcoming of other cultures. It really does enhance the global discussions and the perspectives, gives our kids that readiness to enter the real world. It's really just a pleasant experience that I've witnessed firsthand throughout this process.
And are there any key challenges that you've confronted as an assistant superintendent when working with these exchange programs or the students?
So for me, not really. Finding host families sometimes, however, because of the history here at Hempfield area, we typically have a waiting list of host families now. I will say the only thing that I feel bad about is the phenomenon of senior skip day. Our foreign exchange students never participate, and I always feel like they're left out. I understand that they need to participate and attend school, but they're like the only ones in school for seniors on those days. So I do feel guilty. Other than that, no, there's no challenges. It's been great, and I like the positives. Definitely, I don't have any negatives to provide, but it's a great benefit for our
Well,
family.
you don't have to force it, but I appreciate that. How about, could you talk a little bit about your experience when working with the programs themselves?
So I've only had positive experiences. Anytime I would reach out about a student application to any of the organizations, so most recently with AFS about a question about a student application, the response I get is immediate and very open and really just puts all of our concerns at ease. I worked through that process with our high school principal. I've kind of trained him up to take the lead in that, but I support him if there's ever a time of question, and I'll be the conduit for that. But that collaboration has really helped smooth transition. And in the host families, Like I said, they're regulars here, so they know the routine, and we work through them with the enrollment process, et cetera. So.
Well, that's great. So I guess in the final question would be, what advice would you give to schools and communities that are a bit hesitant to host international exchange students?
Uh, I hate to say it, just you jump in with both feet. It's such a great experience for the students, for the community, for the teachers. Just trying it, and it's been organic for us. After and like I said, I wasn't here for the beginning, but it has grown in popularity here at Hempfield Area School District, and to the fact that I cannot hold it back. So I think if you let it start and promote it and get that first student in the door, the positivity will grow, and you'll have more and more. So if anybody would ever need any assistance, please feel free to reach out to me. I can share some tips and tricks and go from there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your insight. And next we have Britta Bjorlin, Chief of the Youth Programs Division at ECA.
I love that, Dr. Connor. Thank you so much. I love hearing those anecdotes and the stories and your perspective. So much more interesting than hearing from a representative of the Department of State. But here I go. Yeah, so I'm honored to join you all on behalf of the Youth Programs Division at the Department of State at the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. As mentioned previously, I think also known as ECA. I was lucky enough to attend the AASA conference last month and be part of a panel. The conference took place in New Orleans, so it's wonderful to connect with more of you today and to learn more about the organization. Thank you for the vital work you do every day in supporting students and educators, your communities across the country, and of course for joining us. So I'm hopefully you're not going to talk long, but a quick intro about what we do at ECA in youth programs. We have fully funded exchange programs. We bring high school students from around the world to the United States, and we also send American students abroad. And all of these programs build job skills, they increase mutual understanding, they foster leadership capacities, and of course, they build lifelong friendships. What we're mostly focusing on today, and Chris talked about and Mark talked about, are the inbound programs where we bring international students to come and live in our host families and go attend our public high schools around the United States. We have 3 main programs that bring students on fully funded exchanges through the State Department. CBYX program, which is with Germany, and this program has been around for 41 years. Very long-standing testament to, sort of the success. We also have the Future Leaders Exchange Program, which is called FLEX, which started after the fall of the Soviet Union and continues to be relevant today, and is with 22 countries in Europe, Eastern Europe, and Central Asia. And then we also have the Kennedy Lugar Youth Exchange Study Program, which brings high school students from a number of countries in Africa, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, and other places all over the place. At ECA, we basically believe in the power of youth and these people-to-people connections. As I mentioned, these inbound programs bring about 1,800 high school students every year, and they live in every U.S. state and many communities in every U.S. state. But we also have study abroad programs. And so these are really unique programs for our American high school students, and they can be anywhere from 3 weeks to a full academic year. They're available for free for your students, and kind of like a wonderful opportunity that maybe not that many high school students know about or take advantage of. In fact, we offer about 1,100 merit-based scholarships for American high school students to study in nearly 30 countries. These can be programs anywhere, again, from 3 weeks to a summer learning critical language such as Chinese or Arabic or Russian or Korean, 3 weeks, a summer, or in a full academic year. So why do we do these programs? Well, we really believe that these programs are kind of the best, maybe the happiest part of foreign policy, building understanding and lifelong people-to-people connections across borders. I think Mark talked about this as well. Public diplomacy, people-to-people public diplomacy is really one of the most effective tools for building global stability and reducing conflict. And again, our programs sort of strategically engage youth from key regions. So we're not necessarily in our exchange programs bringing students from Spain and France. Many of those students might already have opportunities to travel to the United States. We're focusing on countries that are lesser, well, of strategic importance to the United States. So they might be lesser known amongst Americans, which is part of what makes the exchange sometimes very vibrant and unique. For our inbound programs, more than 95% of our participants report a significantly improved perception of U.S. policy in institutions, and they return home as advocates for things like democratic governance, human rights, and free speech, and reinforcing our U.S. soft power abroad. Why do international students in your schools matter? Well, I think Dr. Connor said it the best, but you're welcoming international students, no passport needed for our American students to have a front seat to the world. These students bring global perspectives and spark curiosity, foster empathy, and increase, interest in our American students in the world, in other countries, in perhaps studying abroad, traveling abroad themselves, and expanding our global mindset. And we see that works for teachers too, who really, I think, really enjoy often having these international students in their schools. Hosting is simple, it's well supported. I think Jill's going to talk a bit more about this, but our State Department funded partners really handle all of the difficult work. They do the logistics, they work on the placement of each student, they support the students throughout the year if they're having any issues or questions. And we work with more than 15 implementing partners in support of these programs. We're also working like each year with about 1,400 schools, so you're not alone if you're thinking about hosting an exchange student. And yeah, so I guess my call to action is to say yes when a placement organization reaches out to you about hosting a student, and share our study abroad outbound opportunities with your students and your families. We would love to get more high school students from the United States traveling and studying abroad. And invite your principals, counselors, or world language teachers to learn more. I have a slide next that has some links on how you can learn more. We can also send these out after the presentation. And then I just wanted to comment, I love the stories about the homecoming king and the lead in Mamma Mia and the field hockey ringer, which reminded me, I had the great pleasure to travel to Georgia where we have American students living there every year. And I met with all the schools and the principals. And one of the principals told me that this American high school student, I can't remember, from North Carolina, who I got the feeling was like a pretty good soccer student, but not being recruited for Division I or anything. But they were like, she is the most amazing soccer player. She's on a team with all boys. And, because of her, we're scoring more goals, we're winning all the games. And they said, in fact, we would like to invite her to be on the Georgia national team. This is the country of Georgia, obviously. And so I thought that was just so amazing. And you hear these kinds of stories in this high school exchange, and it's always a lot of fun to hear these kinds of funny and unique stories. I will pause there and thank you all for having me and for joining.
Thanks, Britta. We're going to hear from Jill Warner from AFS.
All right. So thank you to everyone who's gone before me. You've all shared amazing information. I hope everybody is pretty pumped about this idea of inviting these exchange students to your local school districts. My role is really to share with you what you can expect from those placement organizations, because a lot of the work in having these exchange students at the school falls on the placement organization. It shouldn't fall on the school. And so I'm going to run through a little bit of this as a reiteration of what Chris shared earlier, and then I'll get to another slide with some flexibilities that I think a lot of schools don't realize that they have. So what you can expect from a placement organization is everything from them having fully screened any host family that they're going to put in front of you. And that screening entails references and background checks and an in-home interview and all of those pieces to make sure that this is a suitable placement environment for the incoming students from abroad. You should also expect that organization to connect the school, the student, and the family with a trained and qualified, some organizations call them local coordinators, some call them local liaisons, but there should be a human that is within a specified distance to your school and district of somebody that's had training that can provide support to the family, to the student, and to your school. And with that support comes routine check-ins. So they should be checking in proactively with the students and with the host families to make sure that anything that's bubbling up in terms of communication difficulties or some cultural differences that might arise, and we don't want any of those things to fester. So those routine check-ins are designed to help be preventative in creating any sort of bigger disagreements or those situations where families and students may not be a good fit and things like that. So hopefully all of those pieces are found early and support and interventions are put in place. The placement organization should also be providing orientations for families and for students. And some organizations are also going to share some orientations or best practice webinars for schools as well, to make sure your staff knows what to expect, to make sure families know what to expect, to make sure students know what to expect, and what rules to follow and all of those pieces. You can expect the placement organizations to ensure that the students are complying with health requirements. So if you have immunizations that are expected in your state or at your district level, the placement organizations will help you make sure that the students get those taken care of. Some students may have to get them taken care of upon arrival if those vaccinations or immunizations are not available in their home country. But the placement organization, those local coordinators, are there to support you in making sure those pieces get done. So it doesn't fall on you. It doesn't fall on your school nurse. They are there to support that. All of your placement organizations should be providing the students with medical and accident insurance so they are covered during their time that they're in the U.S. And when they reach out to you, they should be sharing with you a full application of the student's information. And that includes host family details, transcripts from the students, health records for the students, the English scores, all of those pieces so that you can make an informed decision about having that student be part of your student body moving forward. And then the part that kind of falls on that joint piece between your school district and the placement organization is that the organization does have to get your acceptance every organization calls that piece of paper something different. Some do it electronically, some do actual paper. But it's essentially an agreement that you are going to enroll the student, that you have given your blessing, that you know that they're coming, so that they can process everything on their end to allow that student to safely leave their home country and head to the United States for their exchange semester or year. So on this next slide, I want to share a little bit with everyone about the flexibilities and some considerations to take into account when working with organizations and having exchange students in your district. And the first one is enrollment. There's actually a lot of flexibility that schools don't always realize that they have in terms of enrollment. You don't have to enroll all of the students based on their birth age. There are some schools that enroll them all as juniors or all as seniors. It allows them to allow the students to participate in a graduation ceremony, even though they're not earning a state diploma. It allows them access to senior nights or prom or the full course catalog, different things like that. Schools have that flexibility in how you choose to enroll the students. The same thing goes for credits and transcripts and diplomas. It's highly unlikely that one of the exchange students is going to have reached or complied with all of the state level requirements academically to get a diploma, but it can be very powerful for the students to have a transcript or a certificate of attendance or some document that indicates that they were a legitimate student in your building or in your district over the course of that semester or academic year, that shows that they accumulated some credits, that they took these courses, because those are things that they take back to their home country to validate their educational experience while they're here. You know, your school and district, as Dr. Connor mentioned, you know, he's working with the high school principal and things like that. You are the ones establishing the policies for who are the students that are coming, how many students do you want? Do you have some expectations about where they could come from? Do you want year students, semester students? Are you okay with any duration of students, etc.? And so, you know, the placement organizations will likely work with you to help you craft those policies if you don't already have them in place. If this is new for you, we'd be happy to help. And then you also get to determine the level of engagement that you want from the students. There are a lot of schools who ask the students to come to those board meetings, just like Dr. Connor referenced. Some of these students, as Britta was referencing earlier, who are on these State Department scholarships, these awesome young humans are participating in community service in their local communities. So they want to be highly engaged in the school. They're looking for those opportunities. They want to present in front of classes. They will give a whole school presentation. A few shy ones, maybe not, but overall, the general students are primed and ready to share about their country, about their culture, about what they're learning while they're here. And they're ready to jump in and help. So if you want them to be more engaged than what you have seen in your exchange students in the past, then tell them from the moment they arrive on your school's doorstep, when they go through that enrollment and scheduling meeting with your counseling team, that these are the things that you want for them, and just kind of set that bar. Make sure the local liaisons and coordinators know that's what you want to see from your exchange students, and they'll help you and the families find students who are going to fit that criteria so that everybody's going in as a good match for expectations. And then my last point is really, as a school district and as the decision makers, you have the option of being as proactive or as reactive as you want to be in terms of student exchange. If you want more exchange students at your school, you have the ability to be proactive and seek out more placement organizations, ask for their help to recruit more host families. You can put things in your newsletters to encourage hosting. Like, you can be proactive to invite these students to be part of your community. Because one thing it's important to note, if you haven't had exchange students in the district, families may not know that this is an option for them. And so when people don't know what they don't know, it takes someone to be the informant and share with them what the possibilities are. At the same time, you can also be reactive, and you can wait until the placement organizations have families that have expressed interest and they come knocking on your door. Just be prepared that in that situation, they may come knocking on your door at any time from January to August to say, will you enroll this exchange student? So I, of course, am encouraging that proactivity there, but every district has to make the decisions that are best for them. So, Carissa, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to share one last anecdote before we go into questions, because you all have been sharing your stories. But CSIET hosts where we hold an annual conference and where we have a student panel. And in last year's conference, one of the students, I think from the Flex program, was on the stage, and she just shared that she was here because girls didn't have an opportunity for an education in her country. And she applied and she got it, and she was there to learn and to engage with the American community and bring that back to the girls back home. And I near cried in front of everybody standing up at that podium as I was interviewing this little girl who is ready to make the change she wants to see in the world. So she was awesome, and these students are they are future leaders. So anyway, thank you all for sharing. Thank you. I hope that the people have found this informative. I think I'm opening this up for questions. I think I have to stop sharing to see the chat. Oh wait, there we go, chat. So
So since there are no questions, let me just kind of just adding to what you just said, Carissa. Like these students who come on these programs, and it's true for the Americans who go abroad as well, they're at such an impactful age, right? That we really see often their trajectory change. And we have, for example, the former Prime Minister of Moldova is a Flex alumnus. The current Defense Minister of Ukraine is a Flex alumnus, and so on and so forth. So they're going on to do amazing things, sometimes smaller things in their communities, leaders in their communities, but sometimes leading their countries and very important endeavors in their countries. So that's just really, really exciting. Just thought I'd mention that.
no, thank you. I actually do have a question here. So I'm gonna pose this to Jill. Are there required classes that students have to take?
Great question. So no, there are not. Schools have a lot of flexibility in how they schedule students. So, you may have a school where we've all been in those districts. I know administrator, this was something that we saw, that there was something in the water at some point, and the group of sophomores coming through has 25 extra kids compared to the grade levels both before and after that bundle of students. And so there's no chance in a sophomore taking an exchange student taking sophomore English or taking the required social studies course or anything that's required for sophomores. Those classes are full, right? They've already had it add an extra teacher, etc. for some of those classes. So the flexibility in enrollment for these students and how they get scheduled really is open to the school. So if this kid happens to be 16 years old, fits with the sophomore age group, you are allowed to enroll them in the freshman English class, the junior English class, an elective English class. If you have a super dynamic world history teacher that loves having the exchange students in their social studies classes because they want that firsthand perspective about, how this scenario was learned in the history books in the student's home country, or how that situation played out while that student was living it in their home country, then you can ask those students to be part of those classes. So of course we want to allow the students to have some choice, right? That's the right thing to do for the kids. They are here to learn as well as to share. So it's always nice to look at their transcript, ask about their interests. A lot of these students are coming from a country where they have a national education system. So the idea of having some of these elective classes, everything from physical education to beginning culinary courses to, a lot of our hands-on or, career and tech ed type courses. These are things these students have never experienced before because they simply didn't have access to them. And so opening up that course catalog, wherever there are spaces in your enrollment, open those courses up to these students and allow those as offerings to them. But if you do have courses that are full, that you simply cannot put another body in that classroom, that's okay. So there's not a prescribed curriculum that these students have to follow while they're here. We hope you'll take, their home country studies of math and science and some of those things into consideration and help them get into a course that fits with their skill set, but also their interests as well. But also keep in mind that you need to find the places where you have space. So I don't know if Dr. Connor wants to add anything to that, having worked with the high school principal and so on and some of those scheduling pieces, but that's from my take, that's what I would share.
Yeah, and only thing I would add, Jill, and thank you. We actually have our exchange students meet with our school counselors in the summertime during their summer hours to sit down and look at what courses they'd be interested in taking. Obviously, yeah, we do look and see if we have anything filled, and obviously we're not going to offer that up, but we have a ton of different electives available to our students. So we kind of let them have some choice in the matter, and it always serves us well.
Thank you both. I think I'll ask Jill or Matt, Dr. Connor. Does the school incur fees or paperwork to take on a J1 student?
Yeah, also a great question. And the answer is no. In fact, in almost every state, there are a couple of exceptions, but in almost every state, the schools are receiving the average daily membership, kind of that fee paid from that all students who are enrolled in a public school, whatever those per pupil fees are that go to the school, whatever it's called in every state, it changes everywhere. Those get assigned to an exchange student as well, because they are counted like any other domestic enrolled student in terms of the student count. Some states do their attendance counts, once in the fall, once in the spring. Some are just once a year, but they are counted into those typical enrollment numbers for a school district. So there's no fees that the school is actively paying for this. Their only real obligation is to complete that paperwork in advance of a student leaving their home country, indicating their intent to enroll the student and acknowledging that they know the student is coming, they will enroll the student when they arrive, and provide a course of study for them based on what's available in their district. So.
Thank you. Chris, I think you talked about this a little bit earlier. Do exchange students have all immunizations typically required to enroll in school prior to entering the U.S.?
The answer to that is yes. That's part of the screening process, and that's what programs have to do prior to students coming to the U.S. And that really gets down to almost a consular issue, in that the requirements to come into the United States are pretty stringent as it pertains to the immunizations, and a lot of states mirror what those requirements are. So the answer is yes to that.
Thank you. I don't see any further questions. I do want to say thank you all. I hope you found this webinar informative. And if you are interested in finding a CSIET certified program to bring exchange students to your school, please go to CSIET.org and click Program Finder, and then have our school host an exchange student. And then you can select your state. And if you're interested in a certain country, or you can pick no preference, and it's all very self-explanatory right there, then you'll be linked up with a certified organization. Thanks again. We hope you, like Dr. Connor here, will be future ambassadors for the benefits of international student exchange and share it with your staff and surrounding school districts. Thank you for coming, and thank you to AASA for providing the space. You will receive a recording of the link in a few days, and in an email, you'll have a copy of the presentation with all the links that are provided in there as well. Thank you all.